Hey there YouTube, Heir of Carthage here. Gonna bring you some Napoleon Total War online footage. I'm playing as Spain. This is I'm not really sure how you say the map. It's like Aoasta Valley or something. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it properly. Anyway, my army consists of, I think it's 8 of these regular Fusilier troops, and then I think I have 1 unit of guerrilla Fusilier, which are volunteers of some sort. Then I have this Tiradores de Cantabria. Yeah, here's the... I've got a couple of... let me just put it this way. I have 3 guerrilla infantry units. I'll show them to you when we get started. I have 2 guerrilla cav units. And then I have 2 heavy cav units and 8 Fusilier and my general. Here's my heavy cav units. They're pretty cool. So obviously, much in the same fashion as Hannibal, I'm setting up a trap for my opponent. He's playing as Prussia. You'll see his army appear here in just a moment. I've hidden all my guerrilla units up here on this hill in these trees, which is very close to his deployment zone, in the hopes that my enemy will march forward and leave his artillery unprotected, or march forward and start fighting, and I can simply slam him in the flank with 5 guerrilla units. This is an extremely good map for Spain to use its guerrilla units, and anybody playing against Spain on this map should be very leery, because there's lots of hiding places and nooks and crannies where you could put guerrilla units that would make this battle exceedingly difficult. So this was a ranked match, and my opponent said no rules, which made me tend to think that he was going to bring a large amount of long-range artillery. And as Prussia, that can only mean that he's bringing either large amounts of howitzers or several rocket troops. And there his army just appeared because the battle has begun. Let's take a look at his army. He's got 4 musketeers on this flank, 2 hussars. He's got 3 rocket troops, just as I suspected. So this is his strategy for the map, which is to force me to attack, as I will be taking severe damage from this number of rockets. 1 rocket troop is not all that effective. 3 of them has a severe morale effect and causes you to lose quite a few men, especially when your men are bunched up like they kind of have to be on this map. There's his general, Gerhard von Scharnhorst, something like that. He's got a bunch of Prussian Fusilier, which are skirmish units. Let's see, he has 3 of them there, and then another musketeer unit, so that makes so far 5 musketeers and 3 Prussian Fusilier. There's another hussar unit, and then let's check out this flank. He's got yet another hussar unit, and then 4 more Prussian Fusilier out here. So my opponent has gone for lots of long range in the form of rockets and Prussian Fusilier. Let's follow the rocket barrage there. You can see that it's quite severe in nature. All of my troops, though, are carrying an experience chevron, though, because Spain's troops are so cheap that I can buy experience chevrons. And this will help keep their morale up while under rocket attack, but it won't last forever. So as you can see, my troops have to be bunched up in order to march forward. So my idea is to distract my opponent by putting all my troops in the center, and he's going to think that he's doing well because his rocket troops are pounding me. And my idea is to just get him distracted there, and then I will pound him with my guerrilla units as soon as I get a chance. However, sometimes when you make plans, they don't always go as you expect. Here's my heavy cav slowly marching through the woods. I'm trying to take them slowly out to the flank in order to catch my opponent off guard with them as well. Now those heavy cav are pound for pound superior to anything that he's brought. As far as cavalry is concerned, my opponent just brought, I think it's 3 or 4 units of hussars. One of them has a chevron here, but even with the chevron, hussars will get owned by heavy cav. In fact, I don't find hussars to be all that helpful, except for on maybe a quick charge versus light infantry. I'd find them to not be very useful against cavalry at all, unless you're getting a rear charge or something like that. I wouldn't suggest hussars in a cavalry-to-cavalry battle. They're really better at attacking enemy light infantry. And here, I selected all my line infantry and accidentally moved my guerrilla line infantry out of hiding, which was a huge, stupid mistake. And I didn't realize it until it was too late. I heard some charging, and then I saw my enemy's hussars charging, and I didn't quite get formed into square in time. Like, I hit the button just like half a second too late. So I'm just going to tell my men to turn around and go ahead and start fighting these hussars, who took some losses from being fired at by my light infantry up on the hill. So now my opponent knows I accidentally sprung my trap too early, which was really irritating. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my cavalry loose. Since my opponent knows it's up here now, there's no sense in waiting. And I have a unit of Hussars de Valpinas, and I have one unit of Cazadores Voluntarios de Madrid. So here I did a quick downhill charge into his Prussian Fusilier in order to try and kill some of them. But I am not going to stay in this fight because now my opponent's cavalry has been activated, and I really have to get to his rocket troops. I cannot be held up by his cavalry and his infantry, so I'm just going to peel my my Cazadores, my mounted Cazadores loose, and just keep charging them towards the enemy artillery. And let's see, where'd my other cav go?
Our men are running, sir.
Yeah, I can't remember if my other Hussars routed. I know they bit the dust. Yeah, they did. They bit the dust right there. Hussars are crappy. I really should have probably bought guerrilla lancers. They would have done better coming off of that hill. But here you can see I got some shots off on one of his rocket troops. And I'm going to charge in my mounted Cazadores and start to do all the damage that I can do in this vicinity. Have to back the camera off a little bit, as it's being shaken a lot by the rocket fire. So here comes the enemy cavalry, but remember what I told you about Hussars? Hussars are okay on a charge, and then they absolutely suck in melee. And you can see my opponent's rocket troops are getting torn up here too. They're all losing many of their men. He's got 2 of them down to less than half, and one of them that's down to 12 men now. So his rocket troops are in effect nullified at this point, and you would think that my cavalry would rout very quickly, but they don't. There's still quite a number of them left, and now that we're into an extended melee fight, my troops are actually going to be better than these Prussian Hussars. And in the meantime, I am moving my heavy cav up the flank. I just crushed a unit, or I'm crushing a unit of his Hussars. And like I said, my heavy cav will absolutely destroy his light cavalry here. If you're going to bring light cavalry for the purpose of attacking other cavalry, I would really suggest using lancers, unless you're using your Hussars to support a unit of heavy cavalry, and then they can be useful. So from there, I'm going to pull my my heavy cav out and start moving to the rear. And these guys are Coraceros Españoles, something like that. I can't quite say it right. He brought a unit of light infantry to try and support, and if you heard that just a second ago, it said our units are running. So my mounted Cazadores just now routed, so they destroyed all the rocket troops, and their mission was a success. Now here I have my 2 units of skirmishers. I started to move off the hill. That was another micro mistake. I did that by accident. And let me show you my infantry formation. I captured several buildings with my 3 units of light infantry, so they will provide supporting fire for my army if my opponent decides to attack, which he now kind of has to, because I've destroyed his artillery. So yep, I got my 3 light infantry in those houses, and then all my line infantry ready to be deployed in any manner that I see fit. And out here I'm about to start another cavalry skirmish. Here's my heavy cav coming into contact with his Hussars. A couple of his units of Hussars gets a good charge against my heavy cav, which is about all they're going to be able to do. And now the grinding match starts.
Our men are running, sir.
And that is a match that I will win. And that stuff that you heard right there was running. That's one of my light infantry units that, like I said, I mismicroed. And so they're getting chased off by those Prussian Fusilier. I'll show you that fight in a minute. Let's get some up-close views of this cavalry fight real quick. Watch my heavy cav duke it out with these Hussars. And you can see my guys have cuirasses, so they're armored, and they're just going to be better in a close-up fight. One of my units, like I said, is very beat up, but my other unit easily has enough men to finish this fight. My opponent brings his general up in order to support the morale of his troops. Good idea, but it's not going to work. So there goes one of my heavy cav units. My other heavy cav unit's going to stand their ground, and like I said, pretty easily win this fight. So even though his Hussars have experienced chevrons, they just get crumpled under good heavy cavalry. And the Spanish heavy cav isn't near as good as some of the other heavy cav that you're going to find in the game. Let's go check out my Tiradores de Cantabria. I was hoping I could just click on the map. There you can do it and click on the mini-map. So here they are. I've got them Well, actually, these guys just came back from routing. I think I have my... Nope, I don't have... Yeah, here's my Tiradores de Cantabria. Sorry, my keyboard is kind of messing up. There we go. Yeah, I just bought a wireless keyboard. It works pretty good, but I've noticed today that it's been a little bit glitchy for some reason. So, I shouldn't have brought these guys out of the woods. That was my mistake, and my opponent also should have put his men into light infantry doctrine, which he did not. Now, they're going to win this fight because my men are out of the woods and exposed. But at least I'm keeping his troops busy over here and beating them up at the same time. And you saw that one of my units regrouped up there on top of the hill, so I'm going to be able to use them to distract my foe too. So here's his Prussian Fusilier. They're feeling pretty good because they just routed some of my troops. Now let's go back to the cavalry fight, which is still going on. This is a long, hard-hitting fight. My opponent threw his general in an attempt to turn the tide, but it's just not enough. My heavy calves still have almost 30 men left, and then the enemy general was just killed right there. So now my opponent made a big mistake there. He shouldn't have risked getting his general killed. So now he's got cavalry behind his lines. His artillery is destroyed. All of his cavalry is routed except for a depleted general's bodyguard. Not that I have much cavalry left. I have, some of my heavy cav, but that's it. But the only problem is this puts my opponent in a position to either attack or be attacked, and I will start spreading out on his flanks. And he decides to attack me. And again, I'm keeping his units busy. Now, I did position these guys right. I left them in the woods and way up on the hill. So you can see from here the terrain advantage that they're going to experience. Yep, there we go. Try and get you a little bit better view. There it is. Yeah, there's the terrain advantage, and my opponent thinks that he's going to lose this fight just from shooting it out, and he's correct. So he decides to charge his troops in. So here they are charging up the hill, but you can see his men are getting quite demoralized from being shot and then having to charge up such an incline. And so I'm going to let my men fire the remaining shots, and then I'm going to put them at the last second into melee mode and charge them in. So there they come. That way my men don't get hit standing still quite as bad. Now, pound for pound, his Prussian Fusilier are tougher, but they're fighting at a huge height disadvantage. And I started to rush my heavy cav over here, but they're exhausted and they'll never make it in time. In fact, there's the announcer telling you how exhausted they are. See, one of his units routes. Their morale was poor to begin with, and that's going to hurt the morale of his other unit. So even though I was badly outnumbered here, the height advantage gave me this fight. Alright, so my line infantry over there won me a huge battle. Now the infantry engagement's beginning. You're going to see me quickly reposition my troops to meet my opponent's advance. So here I have my light infantry, like I said, in the building. They're getting lots of free shots off on his infantry. So that's going to be good for me. They've already killed probably 20-something of his men on their approach. And now all I have to do is reposition my line infantry into thinner lines at critical choke points in order to check his advance. So my opponent doesn't have any option, really, at this point, other than to advance into my superior troops, because I have these buildings captured, and he doesn't have any artillery to force me out. So he would have a hard time winning a light infantry fight because of that, even though he had superior numbers of skirmishers. You can see here that he's opening up with like 3 units of his skirmishers on just my 1 unit in this building, and they've only taken 12 losses. So that's what happens whenever you can capture a building and your opponent doesn't have any artillery to get you out of it. So look at the morale of his men. Their general's dead. They're taking fire from this building, and then also I've spread my men out onto the flanks here. And my Fusilier have a good angle on his troops here. We'll watch them do some firing. This is kind of a cool map. You know, you get to fight up here in the town, all kinds of fun choke points and terrain. Again, it's a very good map for Spain. So definitely want to be careful when you're fighting against Spain. However, if you are playing against Spain, you need to remember that Spain doesn't have any rockets, and they don't have any howitzers. Sorry, not mortars. They don't have any howitzers. So Spain can't really answer your artillery on this map unless they get you with the guerrilla units. So if you protect your artillery well, you could probably screw Spain pretty badly on this map, especially since their units tend to be lower morale and lower quality. But then again, you can see that my units are so cheap that I was able to afford an experience chevron for pretty much every one of my troops. I think there was like one unit that I didn't get to add a chevron to. So what Spain lacks in quality, it makes up for in numbers and guerrilla units. Now on a flat map, Spain has access to 12-pounders and horse art. So on a flat map, Spain can go toe-to-toe in an artillery fight. And check out all the cool smoke effects here. Let's take a look at some of the enemy infantry. Here's the Prussian Fusilier. These are just skirmishers, but he's got them fighting like line. I don't know if that was the best decision or not. These guys have a lot of firepower. Good reload time, good accuracy. They're good troops altogether. It's a good thing that they obviously don't have the 120 range, and that's obviously due to the fact that they have 90 men rather than 60 men. And it looks like my opponent's having some micro issues here. You're seeing his troops get wailed on. On this other flank, my opponent's troops are now routing. And he went ahead and, I guess, quit at this point. I don't know if he quit or you can somehow admit defeat because it didn't go back to their screen. Anyway, good game to my opponent. You can see his name there. It was a ranked match. And I knew my opponent was going to have some kind of gimmick to his army, like those rockets, because you don't do a ranked match on this battle and then say no rules and not expect someone to be using crap loads of long-range artillery, so it was kind of obvious. Of course, it probably should have been obvious to my opponent that I was setting up a guerrilla trap, but I hope you enjoyed the taxes, kind of Hannibalic in nature. And I tried to get you a whole bunch of close-ups in that battle. If you wanted to see the overhead picture, you really didn't miss much because this battle was mainly won in small cavalry skirmishes and taking out his artillery. That pretty much won the fight. And the fight in the center, my opponent didn't have much of a chance. So here's the unit statistics, in case you're interested. Again, good game to my opponent. Hope you enjoyed it.